Now, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto was born in Italy in the year 1707. And he was a genius already since he was younger. When one of his close peers, Rabbi Kusil Gordon, said of the Ramchal that by the age of 15, he already knew all the writings of the Arizals by heart, and he already wrote his first Sefer on Kabbalah. That's by the age of 15. By the age of 15 nowadays, people barely know the alphabet, right? Over here, not only that he memorized all the Sefarim of the Arizal, he also already wrote his first Sefer on Kabbalah. Now, at the age of 20, the Ramchal had a period of time where the Magid is a type of angel that goes and shares with the Ramchal the secrets of Kabbalah. And he started teaching this when he was teaching his students. And this hit a very, very rough chord, because during this time period of when the Ramchal was alive, it was about 50 years after the infamous Shabtai Tzvi. And Shabtai Tzvi was a big scandal where he pretended to be the Mashiach, and he, with his Kabbalah, with other things, he caused a lot of people to stumble. And people were very, very skeptical, and there's another young rabbi that comes up over here, very charismatic, starting teaching Kabbalah, starting to say that he's, being taught by an angel, and they started like, wait a minute, something's going up over here. They started smelling something that smelled like Shabtai Tzvi. They were very nervous. So the rabbis over there, they persecuted him, and they even threatening to put him into cherem, to excommunicate him. And this is the time that he lived. One day he was walking home in his hometown in Italy, and he was in his own thoughts, and he accidentally took a wrong turn. And he ended up in this, let's call it an ill part, this neighborhood where people of ill repute, live and work. And as he's walking there, he realized where he was. He's about to turn around and leave, and he notices that there's another Jew over there. And another Jew is about to walk into a place of sin. And the rabbi quickly ran over to this Jew, and he says, what are you doing? You can't go inside over here. God is watching you. And this person says, Rabbi, I've already strayed very, very far from God. So the rabbi goes, but what if someone catches you? What if someone sees you? Says, they will tell the people of the community, and you'll be embarrassed, your wife and your children, you'll lose your job. How will you face the public? Your children shidduchim, how would you be able to go and marry off your children? So this guy goes, Rabbi, you don't understand. He says, I was already caught doing this. He says, the director of the school of my children told them I can't send them back to school. I had a tzedakah reception that was in my home. It was already canceled. The rabbi already told me that I should not come anymore to the synagogue. My wife is suing me for divorce, and my children already disown me. He goes and he says, my life is in ruin. My life is in shambles. I'm done. I have nothing left to lose. So the Ramchal didn't give up. And he goes over to him and says, you know what? I have an idea that I can help you restore everything back. And the guy says, I'm all ears. What do you got? And he says, I want you to go back into town, go back into the synagogue, and tell everybody that you came to this place not to do a sin, not to do anything bad, but you came to catch me. People already don't like me. People already are very, very upset with me. They'll be thrilled to hear about this. So this person goes and says to the rabbi, says, you're going to do this for me? He says, people are going to think of you as a sinner. He says, what's going to be with you? And the rabbi goes and says, I'm willing to do this to save your life from ruin. And the guy goes and says, Rabbi, but I know you write all these Sfarim. What is going to be with your writings? And the rabbi responded, he says, if I'm worth what I'm right and I'm real, then it doesn't matter. I have to sacrifice myself for another Jew. And if it needs to be read, if God wants people to read it, then God will make it that people will read it. So the man agreed. He turns around. They both walk back into town. The man goes back into his shul. And people started shouting at him. He says, what are you doing over here? You came here, you bring all your filth over here? And he says, no, you don't understand. And there's a crowd that's starting to surround him. And he says, you know why I went over there? He says, you think I did a sin? He says, I went over there because I went to catch, I knew that there was a person by the name of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. And I knew over here that he goes into that place, and I wanted to catch him. And guess what? I went tonight and I caught him. And the Ramchal was there, and the Ramchal confessed the entire thing. And he says, you're right. And all of a sudden, this man who was known as a sinner, who was banished from his community, all of a sudden became a hero. The people that already had their suspicions about this rabbi, who was maybe a phony, they went and they raised this person high, so high. And then they started figuring out, they're like, wait a minute, what are we going to do with this rabbi? This Chilul Hashem, look what he's doing. He's doing these sins in public. So the rabbis decided that Ramchal should be whipped, publicly whipped. So they brought the Ramchal to the center. And the Ramchal goes and says, I'm guilty, and I accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate to give me. and they're about to start whipping him. And as they're about to start whipping, suddenly there's a voice from the crowd that screams out, like, no, stop. And they're about to stop, and they see that this guy, the guy who caught him, comes out. And the Ramchal says, don't worry about it. I already confessed to my sin. And the guy says, I can't do this, Rabbi. I can't let you go through this. And he goes and he opens up his entire story. And he says Ramchal never did anything. And he tells the whole thing and how he risked everything to save another Jew. At this point, this was the turning point in Ramchal's life. This is the point where the people saw on how far this righteous Jew is willing to go to save another Jew from sin, to save another Jew from shame. They realized that he is real. And even though it looked like he was about to lose everything, at the last moment, we all know that no matter what happens, you will never, ever, ever lose out by doing something for HaKadosh Baruch Hu.